G'day everyone and welcome to the episode. This one we're going to continue the build on the Tamiya CC-02 and get steps 14 to 27 done. So let's get into it. Okay, so step 14, and our chassis we're up to, our gearbox that we did, and just 4 screws to hold it all together. And step 14 is now done. Just basically slot the gearbox in, sort of the transfer case first, sort of dip it down and then slide it up, and just these 4 bolts hold it on. Okay, so step 15 is building the slider shafts. Here's most of the bits you'll need, well, all the bits. This one I've already built just to see if it still worked how I used to do them, because I don't like the way they show with using pliers. You also need the other 3 yoke joints. So if you've had a Traxxas kit, or you'd have to have a very odd lossy kit to have, but if you've got a Traxxas kit you should have one of these, and that's to assemble and disassemble these yoke pieces. So I'm just going to quickly do this one just to give you a rundown of how I do it. And what you want to do is get the first one in as far as you can, wiggle in that first hole, and then lift and push. I know it probably didn't show up very well, but you're just basically getting the tool in between there and lifting, prying it that way, and you can see it starts to spread the shaft, the clamp there, and then exact same with the other side. This one, on the first one I did there, proved to be very, very stubborn. It kept on wanting to pop off and go flying, so we'll see if this one is any easier. It's pretty hard to get it all the way far enough in there. On it. There we go. Right, so as I said, it took a bit of struggling, but I can't see it being any easier trying to get the pliers go there, to get pliers and try and lift it and push. Okay, step 16, just need 2 of the, what do they call them, screw pins. I'm just going to basically put the spindle part of the slider shaft onto the chassis. Alright, step 16 is now done. The drive shaft's mounted on the gearbox. Just make sure when you screw the screw pins in to hold this on, do them all the way down until they pretty much stop. Don't go crazy on it, but just keep winding because they go further down. If you don't, you're not going to get much thread through the other side of the hole, and it could, strip out one side of it, sort of thing, if you don't go far enough. Alright, over the page, and we're on to step 17. And step 17 uses these parts here. I'm trying to keep these 2 separate just so I know I've got one of each side, as they are fairly similar, but they've got a slight slope difference on the top, so that's how you can tell which one's which. This part we'll need the chassis, of course, and a whole bunch of 3x12 screws, to screw it all down. Okay, and that's step 17 done. That back, not sure what it is, bumper or body mount, I don't know, that's on, and the 4 mounting points for the suspension links are all screwed down. Okay, on to step 18, which includes going to bag C. Okay, so we're on to bag C, step 18. Now we're building the diffs. So I've got the diff casing itself there, and a whole bunch of bits and pieces. I went and had a quick little break. Number one, to rest the hand from all the wrenching and that. But whether to do them open as they show or do locked, because it does look like it's going to be a bit of a pain to get back in and change them later on. But for the minute, because they've got the plastic on the yokes, on the diff parts, I'm going to leave them open and just see how it goes, and if it's, you know, not drivable in, you know, normal conditions enough, I'll switch it back to, I'll open up and either make one of them locked or both of them locked. But for start, I'm just going to do it open. So I'll get this step done. And here we have step 18 complete. Both dips built up. I did add a tiny amount of thread lock to these screws because they're going into another metal part, and I just don't want them coming apart when it's driving around. So that's step 18 done. Next to step 19, start making up the axles. So step 19 is just basically putting the bearings and some E-clips onto the dog bones, the drive axles. Okay, and here's the two drive shafts, as it's just basically putting the E-clip, which of these size ones I managed to actually drop one. There was leftovers from the previous steps, and then I found it anyway. But so that's all done, and any keen-eyed people out there might have noticed that one of the bearings that I had in the tray was slightly too big. It must be like an 1160 or something, or 1260. So yeah, now it's got all the right bearings there. Alright, on to step 20, which is putting these axles and one of the diffs together. Okay, so step 20 uses quite a few bits. We've got our diff housing, axle housing part. Of course, the axles we made up, a diff, and all these bits and pieces. These little really fine screws, they were really hard to find in a black tray, and they'd hide under every other screw, so that was fun. A couple of bearings, shaft, another get the pinion gear for the diff. So yeah, this is going to be a fun step. Okay, so step 20 went together actually pretty smoothly and easily. Just closing up the axle with the different screws that were shown. So let's get on to step 21. Okay, step 21. This one, we're going to need our axle that we just made, a whole bunch of the same screw and a couple of the ball connectors, and all these bottom bits here that you see, which is C15 to C18. Now they do have differences, you can see it, but I'm just going to take these off the tree as I place each one, just to make sure I get them in the right spot, save any mucking around. Okay, there's step 21 all complete. Got the little angled brackets on both the top and the bottom. One thing you have to be careful about is these drive shafts want to pop out because they're nice and free, so that's always a good sign. Okay, on to step 22. We need our axle. Now I can get out one of the other option parts I've got, which is the adjustable steering links, which also include the metal balls here instead of the plastic C9s. And definitely on this one, yeah, you can definitely see that's the smaller side. There's an open side, it's got the little ring around the eyelet there, so definitely push your balls through that way and they snap in really easy. And that, we need our two plastic hubs, a plastic spacer, so that's C13, a really long screw here, totally forgot about, so that's the one for the steering. And instead of the 3x14 step screws, the steering upgrade came with these screws instead, because you don't need the larger step part. Alright, so I'll get this all installed. And there's step 22 done. I must say those metal pivot balls make this whole thing feel really super smooth. And the kingpins went in dead straight for a change. So yeah, all up, that feels really nice. Okay, step 23, we now had our axle that we just finished. 2 of these straighter arms and 2 of the curved arms. These are all the shorter ones that are on the trees. The other ones that are left are the longer, slightly longer. And need 4 3x12 screws and 8 of the pivot balls. And here's step 23 all finished. All the links are attached. One note, when you screw these in, even the outside, you have to screw it through that first bit of plastic. It's not like a press in then screw at the last bit. So just make sure you got your arms lined up first, like the holes lined up with the eyelet, and it'll go straight through pretty easy. So step 24 here should be an easy one. Got our half shaft, a little screw pin. So what we're going to do, attach it on there, got the screw pin in, and screw that down until you feel it stop. And that there is step 24 done. Okay, step 25 is just basically putting the bearings and E-clips on the rear drive shafts. Also got these C14 black spacers that are needed, so I'll get that set up now. Okay, so that's step 25 done. Let's see, there's the focus, 2 E-clips with those 2 black spacers either side of the bearing, the other one just floats. And there's step 26 done. Like the front, just make sure you give the axles a bit of a pull out to make sure these outside ones drop into the right spot, and that the inside ones are in their correct little housing there where there's a cutout for it. So step 27 is putting the rear axle together. So we need our part we're up to, the top half, as well as a whole bunch of different hardware. Okay, and that's step 27 done. Axle housing is all built up. So on to step 28. Okay, so that'll do it for this episode. We've got about another roughly 13, 14 steps done. So remember to like and subscribe, and I'll be back in the next video to continue the CC-02 build.